The single most powerful tool in Illustrator is the Bezier pen tool, although now I must admit that the Shape Builder tool is snapping at its heels. But once again, going back to points and paths, the Bezier pen tool is the heart of shape creation in Illustrator. Master the tool, the process, the nuances, and you can create any shape you like, simple or complex, with perfect precision. Let's take a quick look at freeform drawing with the pencil tool and then see just how powerful and functional the Bezier pen tool is as we construct new letter forms for our design. Let's take a look at freeform drawing in Illustrator, and we're going to start out with a pencil tool. Now, this is going to be done in a separate document, so let's press Command O or Control O on the PC to bring up our open dialog box. Come over to your project files, go into the Illustrator files folder, and let's open this one called Mountain Sketch AI. Now, when you open it, if you get a warning about Illustrator not being able to find the Bormio image, simply click Replace and navigate to the Images folder in your project files folder, and you'll be able to relink it there. Now if we open that and just fit in window and zoom down, you can see I've got an image here in the background. This is actually a mountain range in the Italian Alps. And what we want to do is do a very quick and easy sketch of the silhouette shape of the mountain. This then could be something we use in our artwork later on. Now if we look at the layer construction in this file, you can see that I have two layers. We have an artwork layer and also the image is locked in the background layer. So naturally we're going to draw on the artwork layer. Now, I've already got a graphic style in here that you can see is filled none and stroke black, which is very handy when using the pencil tool. I told you it would be very useful earlier on to update your default graphic style. This is the exact time when that becomes very, very useful. However, if you're drawing over the top of an image, and let's say we are drawing with a black stroke, if areas of the image are very dark like they are here, that can sometimes be very difficult to see exactly where your shape is being drawn. So sometimes it's nice to tint the images backwards, sort of fade them out if you like, so it's easier to see the shape that we're drawing over the top afterwards. Well, thankfully, because this image is on its own layer, this is an option that Illustrator has for you. If you double click to bring up the layer options for that layer, we can see here the dim images function. If we turn that on and maybe drop this down to say 30%, say OK, you can see exactly what happens. We faded the image back. Now when we select our artwork layer and draw over the top, we won't have such an imposing and dark image in the background. So I just wanted to show you that as we reach this point. So go ahead and close the layers panel down. What we're going to do is come over to the pencil tool now. If we click and hold on that, you can see there are three sides to it. Essentially, we have the main pencil tool with which we draw. We have the smooth tool for smoothing out the path afterwards, but I'm actually going to show you a different way to do that. And then we also have the eraser tool if we wish to remove parts of the path. But let's go ahead and select the main pencil tool, double click it to bring up the pencil tool options because there are a couple of things in here that we want to change. The fidelity and the smoothness are basically how accurately the path is going to be drawn according to your mouse movement. So the fidelity, if you do a lot of movement back and forth, it's going to follow that path very, very accurately. Then we can counteract that, in fact, with a little bit of smoothness. So I'm going to push this up to about 8 or 9% just to smooth it out a little bit. It'll be fairly accurate, but this is something that you can play with in the future. What we also have is an option to say edit selected paths. Now what this means is if we draw a shape that goes around the outside of our mountains here and it's still highlighted, if we position our cursor back within 12 pixels distance from that path and start drawing again, we don't get a new path, we edit the existing one. Very handy in some instances. For me, it's sometimes a personal annoyance. If I'm going to position my cursor over something, I know I'm putting it there and I'm going to edit it. 12 pixels is a large gap and I might want to draw a new path that's 12 pixels further away. So sometimes just to be on the safe side, I will bring that down to 2 or 3 pixels just so I don't accidentally make that mistake. So again, just something in here I wanted to show you. So if we go ahead and click OK, what we can do now is position our cursor over off the left-hand side here and simply click and drag, okay? So very simple, as you would expect a pencil to be. We just click and drag and follow the shape of our mountain, all right? Now, if you reach a point where you need to let go of the mouse, don't worry, just position your cursor back on the final point and continue drawing again. That's no problem. And it's up to you which mountain you follow here. I really don't mind. We just want to get a silhouette over there. Now what we do want to do when we finish this up is sort of come down with a straight edge and close up so we could end up with a solid black mountain outline. For that we can actually use the pen tool to do the rest of it for us. Now we're going to go into the pen tool in detail in just a second, but for now we're going to use its most basic function, which is just to draw points. So hit the P key, which will give us the pen tool, come over here on the right hand side and click on that final anchor point to make sure that we still have the path selected. Then we're going to come down and just click off the bottom right here, come over on the left. In fact, we can use the smart guides there, which is very cool. We don't need to, but if you want to be very accurate, we can. And then we'll come up here and make sure that that path is closed, okay? So we've now utilized two tools there to give us the outline shape. So make sure for a second we go back to our main selection tool. And if you like, you can deselect and see how accurate your path is at this point. Now, even though this is a slick and rough outline, we can edit it because it's vector. Remember that everything we've done here in Illustrator is vector-based. By now, you know that we could use the direct selection tool and perhaps pull and push these points around because the tool has created points and paths. But there is a more fun and interactive way to edit hand-drawn shapes like this. In fact, there's a whole selection of them, but I'm going to use one called the Warp tool. Now, over here in the tools, we have a brand new tool, which is called the Width tool. But what I'm going to do is click on this, and you'll see a whole flyout of options here. We have Warp, Twirl, Pucker, Bloat, Scallop, Crystallize, and Wrinkle. I mean, you could have some serious fun with these, and honestly, I could spend a whole day showing you all the ins and outs of how very cool these are. However, we're just going to use one at this point, which is the Warp tool. Now, once you select it, you'll see it comes up with a circle, kind of like we're using a paintbrush. Well, this is basically the radius of the warp distortion area, okay? In fact, if we go back into the tool and double-click it, you can see the default value there, okay? There's also an intensity, which is essentially how much of the warp is applied as you click and hold your mouse. And again, you also have detail and simplification options, so you can choose the accuracy according to what you draw. I'm not going to change anything here for a second because we can change the size of the brush essentially in a different way. Cancel this. Position over the top of our image, and let's just give it a quick try. Let's say we come over here onto this flat area. I'm going to click and drag and have a look at what happens. Now, you'll notice that as we're pushing out, we're also getting our green smart guides here. So this is why I wanted to show you this. This really is a situation where the smart guides could become a hindrance. So I'm just going to undo that and press Command U or Control U on the PC to turn off your smart guides. Now you can have much finer control over the amount of warp and the position and movement that you have there, and really fine tune it. Now on the other side of things, you'll notice that as I come over the top here and move, because of the size of the brush area, an entire section of path is being moved. And let's say I just undo that and I want to push this area out a little bit. I can't do that. I get absolutely everything together. Well, this is why you wish to change the radius. That can be done holding down the Option and the Shift key, as you would pretty much expect for drawing a circle as we've seen before. As we then click and drag down with this, we can redefine the radius of the tool. Okay, so now that we've got a smaller one, we're free to sort of grab these little points back and forth and push and pull them accordingly. And don't forget, if you want to, you can even zoom in on your path, go up to a much higher magnification and really fine tune exactly how much of a distortion you're applying. The Warp tool is actually incredibly fun, and being able to change the radius and everything else like that in a live way is very, very handy. Now, to finish this up, what we do want to do is slice out these outer sections and just give ourselves a finished rectangle. So by now, you probably know that the Pathfinder would be the easiest way to do this. So let's press our M key, which takes us back to our rectangle tool. We can turn on our smart guides again and just position ourselves in the upper left-hand side, click and drag down to draw a box that fills the entire area. Going to hit the V key to go back to the main selection tool, and I'm going to highlight both the rectangle and the shape that we've drawn. We're not going to pick up the image because it's locked in the background. And then we'll also do Shift X to switch our stroke over to our fill. Now we could go over to our Pathfinder and choose the intersect option here, which would give us only the shape within the rectangle, and that would be our final silhouette. So you can see there how freeform drawing with the pencil tool can be done very quickly and easily, but that Warp tool function is really very handy for updating it as we move forwards.